Hello. Welcome to the first of 31 installments of Scouching's 2019 NHL Draft recaps. We're opening this video series by looking at the Anaheim Ducks 2019 NHL Draft selections, and leading the way was 9th overall pick Trevor Zegras. I am a huge fan of Trevor Zegras. I think there is just about as much potential with him as almost anyone else in this range of the draft. He's a tremendous passer, a tremendous skater, really skilled, and can be extremely creative in the offensive zone. He was one of the most fun players for me to watch this year, so I'm thrilled that he turns into a Duck and he joins a really nice crop of young players for that team. Also in the first round, they went with Braden Tracy, who I felt was a little bit of a reach, but I do understand the pick. He produced very well on a very productive line in Moose Jaw. I'm not sure how that will translate once his better line mates leave him, and it will be interesting to see how he does next year. However, on his own, Tracy, I thought, had a great under-18 championship, and I think there's an interesting possession winger here down the line. I'm not super sold on his total upside in terms of a potential top-line player, but I do think he will be a contributor and very reliable in a number of different situations. He's got great puck skill, he's great around the net, and I think it's an interesting complementary piece down the line for the Ducks. In the second round, the Ducks took a bit of a swing on Jackson Lacombe, who I'm not super sold on. I saw him play a few times for Shattuck St. Mary's, and I did see some nice flashes. He's a smooth skater, he's aggressive in the offensive zone, he uses his line mates well. I just wasn't really sure what upside he brings. He's not the flashiest player out there, he doesn't have tremendous tools, but I do think it's an interesting bet considering just how productive he was on that team. It was a dominant prep school team, and prep school is really hard for me to judge, but I do think he's a good defender and a decent pick in the second round, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. The Ducks took a bit of a break, and in the fourth round at 101st, they took Henry Thrun. In this range, I think it's a decent pick. I never came away particularly impressed with Thrun. His decision-making always struck me as a bit of an issue, but he brings really nice tools, so if he can round out his game, simplify things a little bit, he could be an interesting contributor one day. And while the pick might have made sense at 101, there were some interesting players that were slipping a bit further in the draft that I might have looked at before Thrun. Next off the board for the Ducks was Trevor Janicki, and he's a player that I did see really nice flashes out of. I saw some nice skill out of him in my viewings, and I do think there's an interesting project there. If everything kind of goes right, he could be a good complementary player one day. He will need to capture a level of play that I saw pretty rarely though, so I'm not certain this guy's going to be a good NHL player one day, but it is an interesting bet based on the flashes that I saw. And with the last two picks in Anaheim's draft, they went with two big, strong defensemen in William Francis and Matthew Hill. I'll admit I didn't really pay much attention to either of these players, so I really don't know what they could turn into, but they're both big, they didn't produce particularly well, and in Francis's case, he took a lot of penalty minutes, so you kind of know what you're getting when you draft him. I don't know what the end goal is with these players, but in the 6th and 7th round, you kind of just take who you like, and if you like big, strong defensemen, then by all means, go nuts. It's probably not the decision I personally would make, but it's a decision nonetheless. So if you watched any Scouching Report videos, we're going to transport that rating system into this system, where we're going to give a team's draft crop a number and a letter grade, where the number indicates the overall potential of the group, and the letter indicates the likelihood of that group reaching that potential. And to lead things off, I'm going to give the Ducks a 1D. I think they did really well, especially in the first round. With a late first round pick, if you can get a good complementary player like a Braden Tracy, I think you've done pretty well. And with someone like Trevor Zegras at the top end of the draft, I didn't think at the 9th overall pick there were that many more players with as much upside, especially as a potential center as Trevor Zegras. He's great in transition, he's a good skater, has great puck skill, and is extremely creative. And I think that could take him a long way. He might be a bit of a boom or bust pick for the Ducks, but I do think he's going to be a very good player if things go at all right for him. And with guys like Lacombe and Thrun, these are defensemen that have tools and could become something if you're a bit more patient with them. Same goes for Janicki up front, and with your big strong defensemen late in the draft, if they turn into NHL players, they could be good minutes eaters, but I'm not particularly sold on those guys being good bets. But overall, if the Ducks come away with this draft with a great complementary player in Tracy, a really high ceiling player in Zegras, and some interesting projects in the middle rounds, I think there could be something interesting here for the Ducks looking back in a few years. So that's it for the Ducks, and next video we're going to be looking at the Buffalo Sabres. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, you could click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss a thing. If you really liked the show, you could check us out on Patreon, where you get access to private spreadsheets for drafted and undrafted prospects, early access to videos, merchandise discounts, and plenty more. Or you could pick up some merchandise at the Scouchwear shop, where all the links are in the description. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the video where we break down the Buffalo Sabres.